Good. I live in Las Vegas. I have a friend who lives not too far from me. His name is Daniel Rudiker. Does anybody know who Daniel Rudiker is? Yeah, Rudy. You probably know him as somebody named Rudy. This is the real Rudy. This is not the actor Sean Astin. This is the real Rudy. I'm out to lunch with Rudy one day, and we've done some talks together. I'm out to lunch, and I asked him point blank, I said, Rudy, how'd you get your movie made? He said, I don't know. He said, man, I really don't know. Rudy spent 9 years of his life, 9 years of his life, trying to get people to believe in his dream, believe in his vision, to get what happened to him in his life turned into a story that would help save and change people's lives. He said, when he graduated from Notre Dame, he was working as a custodian at his apartment complex in South Bend, Indiana, where he was living. And one day he was cutting the grass, and some people came driving by in their cars, people who he thought were his friends, who he told about his dream of getting this story made into a movie. They rolled their windows down, and they started shouting things at him, saying stuff like this, hey, Rudy, when are you going to get that movie made? Yeah, look at you, man. You're a loser. You're cutting the grass like they're going to make a movie about you. You didn't do anything. You're a nobody. Any of you ever been put down in your life by anybody, anytime, anywhere, for any reason? Please raise your hands, because I know it's true, because it happened to me. It happens to you. It happens to everybody. Rudy said finally one day he couldn't take it anymore. He got mad. So he went in. He resigned from his job. He went to his bank. He emptied out his bank account. He had $600. That's it. He bought an airline ticket on a credit card. And he flew out west to Hollywood, to California, and if you can imagine this, he was going to go door to door and knock on studio executives' doors and try to convince them to make his life story into a movie. And I said, Rudy, I used to have an office out there in that area. I know what it's like. They've got guards. They've got, dogs. I mean, how in the world did you get on the lots? He said, I used to hide behind trees. And the gate would open, and I'd run in, and then I'd hide behind a bush. And I'd wait for somebody to open up a door, and then I'd sneak in the building. And then I'd walk down the hall like I was supposed to be there. How you doing? Good morning. Could you give me a cup of coffee? For 3 years, he tried to get the guy who made the movie Hoosiers. How many of you saw the movie Hoosiers? Great movie. Tried to get the guy who made the movie Hoosiers to meet him for lunch. He said, I just wanted this guy to meet me for lunch. For 3 years, the guy said, no, 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 no. Finally, the guy said, look, Rudy, man, you've been calling me for 3 years. I will meet you for lunch if you will promise me after lunch you will leave me alone. He said, I'll leave you alone. Just meet me for lunch. He said, I'll meet you this day, this time, at this restaurant in Santa Monica, California. Rudy got there an hour early, could not wait for this guy to walk in and inspire the man. 4 hours later, the guy still did not show up. Rudy was walking out of the restaurant. He was all down in the dumps, wasn't paying attention, bumped into a mail carrier. Now, he had two choices based on his attitude. Treat this guy in a good way or treat him in a bad way. So he realized this guy had nothing to do with his situation. So he started to be nice to this man, just asking him questions, and they talked for about 20 minutes. After about 20 minutes, the mail carrier said, Rudy, you seem like a really nice guy. What are you doing all the way out here from Indiana? And he said, well, I was supposed to meet a friend of mine here today for lunch, Mr. Pizzo, but he must have forgotten because he didn't show up. He said, I'll see you later. Take care. And Rudy went walking down the street, got about 15 feet away, and he heard the mail carrier shout out, hey, Rudy, do you mean Angelo Pizzo? Rudy's like, man, it's the middle of Los Angeles. He's like, yeah, I mean Angelo Pizzo. He said, well, I know Angelo. His house is right over there. Rudy said, thank you. Rudy went running down the street, went up the steps on the front porch, knocked on the door. Voice from behind the door said, who is it? He said, it's Rudy. Angelo opened up the door and said, my God, how do you keep finding me? Rudy said, never mind, buddy, you're late for lunch. Are you ready to make my movie? Because I'm not giving up and quitting. I don't care how many times I get turned down. If you don't believe in the spirit and the purpose and the message of why I'm doing this, I don't want to do this to be famous and make money. I want to do this because we're going to save and change people's lives. Long story short, that 30-second little interaction inspired Angelo, and he went on to make the movie Rudy. How many of you saw the movie Rudy? Wow. Rudy said, James, but let me tell you the real reason why I'm so thankful I didn't quit and give up. Rudy said he was speaking in Indianapolis to 15,000 people after the movie came out. He was sitting down and he was signing books for about 4 hours. Man came and stood right in front of him. Say, Rudy, I cannot afford $10 for your book. But I drove over 5 hours to come here and stand in front of you and shake your hand and tell you thank you for saving my son's life. Rudy said, sir, I don't even know you. How do you think I saved your son's life? And he said it with tears coming down his cheeks. He said, Rudy, a year ago, my son was on drugs. He was hanging out with the wrong crowd. He quit the football team. His grades shot down. He was flunking school. He would leave, and we wouldn't know where he went. One night, it was a Saturday night. My wife and I, we were laying in our bed late at night. My son got up early in that morning. He was gone. We had no idea where he was at all day, all night. 11, 12 o'clock, we're lying there. We're praying. We're just hoping something, he's okay. He's not in a gutter somewhere. Something didn't happen. All of a sudden, we hear the steps pounding to our front porch. We hear the door to the front house open up, front of the house. We hear these steps running toward my bedroom. I didn't know what was going on. I thought somebody broke in. The bedroom door burst open. We hear these steps running toward the bed. As the image got closer, I could tell it was my son. My son grabbed me by the shoulders. He shook me. He woke me. He shook me. He said, Dad, you have got to come and see this movie with me. It's awesome. It's incredible. It's changing my life. I saw it 7 times today. Rudy, my son wouldn't even talk to me, let alone want me to go do something with him. I said, what is it, son? He said, it's Rudy. The next day, Rudy, I went to that movie, and I sat there with my son all day, and we watched that movie, and I cried like I'm crying in front of you right now. My son, it's a year later. He's back in school. He's back on the football team. He's making good grades. He's talking about dreams and goals. He's talking about going to college. Rudy, I drove over 5 hours to come and stand in front of you and shake your hand and tell you thank you for saving my son's life because you didn't quit and you got that movie made. And Rudy said, wow. James, I almost quit because some big shots back in Indiana when I was cutting the grass told me I was a loser. And he said, I'm so thankful I didn't quit when I faced all those rejections when I was trying to get the movie made. Because I know millions of people have seen the movie, but to me, all that matters is one person saw that movie, that young man, because that young man is alive today because of that movie. Got it? Good. Now, let somebody stand on a stage and tell you motivation doesn't work. I don't buy it.